to say a massive welcome to everybody who's been able to join us this afternoon as well. So yeah, as Emma said, my name is Shandine Cox. I'm the course director for the MSc in Business Translation and Interpreting, and I work predominantly with French and English. And Dr. Amy Lee is here as well, and she takes care of the Mandarin students as well. But we're also delighted to have Kasia and Helen along with us today. So Kasia and Helen are two of our current students on the Masters programme. So they have come along to give their perspective on the programme, their experiences of it, and to answer any questions that you might have as well. So basically what I'm going to do is just start off by giving you a little bit of background information about the university before kind of going into the specifics of the programme itself. Amy will speak a little bit about career opportunities that come out as a result of the programme, and we've got a little bit of information about former students and what they have gone on to do as well. Then there'll be a little more information towards the end about fees and scholarships and that kind of thing, and then you'll hear from Kasia and Helen as well, before you then have sort of the chance to ask questions using the little Q&A button if you'd like. But as Emma said, please feel free to sort of email us any questions you have as well. I'll go back to that slide as well. I don't know if you want to sort of screenshot it. So the top email address there is for the faculty postgraduate inquiries. If you've got anything sort of general or sort of even specific about fees and funding, entry requirements, feel free to get in touch with them. If you want to know sort of something more about the programme itself, then by all means don't hesitate to get in contact with either myself or Amy. Okay, so just a little bit of background information about Strathclyde. It really is a wonderful place to both work and study, and I think the fact that it has won so many awards over the years is really sort of testament to the institution. We were awarded the Times Higher Education University of the Year in 2019, and this is actually the second time that we have received that award. The first time was in 2012, so that's certainly a sort of good stamp of approval, as is being awarded the Times and the Sunday Times Good University or Scottish University of the Year in their Good University Guide last year. Again, as you see, we've picked up sort of other very prominent awards along the way, such as one of the Queen's Anniversary Prizes in 2019. And I think it's also worth pointing out that Strathclyde is rated a QS 5-star institution. So 5 stars is sort of the highest rating that you can get in that particular sort of rankings scheme that looks at the quality of teaching, the quality of research, and also graduate employability as sort of some key factors to take into consideration there. Okay, Strathclyde it might be a little bit older than you are expecting it. It was actually founded in 1796. And ever since that moment, ever since it was founded, it has had a very strong tradition of useful learning. And that's certainly an ethos that we've carried over into the MSc in Business Translation and Interpreting as well. Because as you see, we've structured everything, we've geared everything around the fact that the programme will equip you with the skills that you need to undertake a career in translation and or interpreting, and a variety of other things, as you will see. Again, so the few statistics on the various awards that we have won, and we had the good news this year that we have climbed up 36 places, so quite a significant number of places in the Guardian's University Guide of 2021. So we are currently standing at 15th in the UK. Within Scotland, we are the 3rd largest university behind Edinburgh and Glasgow, and we've also got sort of a reasonably decent female to male ratio in terms of our student population. Then, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit Strathclyde yet, I think sort of you'll be pleasantly surprised when you do, because we are really very much in the heart of Glasgow city centre. We are a very short walk away from one of the main train stations, from the big bus station, so it's easy to sort of both get to Glasgow and travel outside of Glasgow during weekends and on holidays to explore the rest of Scotland. Once everything returns to a better semblance of normality from the campus, then you're right beside so many shops, cafes, bars. There's so many different things to sort of do and see, so that's definitely a bonus. You may or may not know that Glasgow has also been a designated UNESCO City of Music since 2008, I think. So if you're into music, whatever type of music it is, you're almost guaranteed to find something going on in Glasgow, because it also has a wealth of various different music venues. And Glasgow is a rather sporting city as well. Sport sort of features quite prominently too. And the city was sort of lucky enough to be able to host the Commonwealth Games in 2014 and the European Championships in 2018 as well. Then, so yes, the campus is incredibly well situated, and the campus is sort of incredibly well, it's looking pretty spectacular. So there's been a huge amount of investment into transforming the campus. So by the time we reach 2025, £1 billion will have been spent on transforming the campus and sort of turning it into a first-class working and learning environment, both for students and staff. So one of the sort of star features of that transformation is the new Learning and Teaching Hub. So £60 million has been put into this building that very much sits at the heart in the centre of the campus. You can see sort of a little picture of it to the side there, and it's been designed very much to be the flagship facility. And staff and students all had a say in the design during the development stage, and it's there basically to develop leading edge teaching facilities, and it's also there to provide a new home for student support services as well as the Students' Union. So it really will meet the needs of our growing student population. It definitely sort of represents the biggest single investment in the sort of the campus project to date, and the idea is that it will very much become a beacon for teaching and learning excellence. And if I'm not mistaken, it's hopefully due to open relatively soon as well. So we're looking forward to getting into that particular building. Sort of in the surrounding area, sort of in the heart of the campus as well, there are further development plans afoot. So the idea is to create what sort of from the plans looks like a really stunning centrepiece for Strathclyde. They're going to pedestrianise, re-landscape an area that's known as Rotten Row Gardens, and various other streets alongside there. And the idea is that it'll be a very sort of welcoming and dynamic social space for everyone to use. Another really sort of positive development in recent years has been the Strathclyde Sports Centre, which is a £31 million rather, state-of-the-art sports facility. As I say, opened a few years ago, and it's got sort of a swimming pool, it's got gyms, it's got sort of exercise spaces. So that's a really positive feature of the campus as well. Then we also have the drive towards being a sustainable Strathclyde. As an institution, we're definitely committed to sustainability and climate action. And really, we have a focus on tackling climate change and being as socially responsible as we can be. And we've, the good news is that we have been awarded the stamp of being a cycle-friendly campus. And the campus has also recently seen the completion of a state-of-the-art combined heating and power system. And this is something that allows Strathclyde to generate up to 50% of its electricity on campus, and then use the heat that is produced as a result to heat the rest of the campus buildings as well. So definite strides have been taken forwards in that particular area as well. Then when it comes to student facilities, we really do have a range of very excellent facilities on campus for our students. So the library is housed in a building that's over sort of 5 different levels. In there you have sort of over 1 million printed items, there are hundreds of computers, and it's actually in the library, in that building, that you will find our dedicated translation lab with our own computers and our own software that I'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. There's also all sorts of different study spaces in there. So if you want to go somewhere and be quiet, you can. If you want to work in a group as well, you can. Excuse me. And then to complement the physical building, then you have all the digital resources that the library offers you as well, that you can access from anywhere in the world, or from on campus as well. Then we have free Wi-Fi all over the campus, and IT are fantastic in that they offer use of a huge range of software that you can actually download for free as a student, including Microsoft 365. People are very much sort of at the centre of what Strathclyde do, so it's hardly surprising that we have an excellent disability and wellbeing service. And here you have access to a wide range of advisors, many of whom have specialist expertise in disability, in health, in mental health, and in counselling as well. So there you can access a very broad range of support, including one-to-one counselling, mentoring, but also things like study support and wellbeing programmes as well, related to mindfulness and stress management and so on. So again, that's another fantastic facility to have available. And then we've got the Strath Union, which is very much kind of the social centre, the social hub of the campus. And you can go there to grab a coffee, get something to eat, to meet friends, become involved in student organisations, student politics, societies, and so on. But again, in addition to sort of that social aspect, there are spaces where you can go to study, access resources, and get advice on student matters, things like accommodation, council tax, that kind of thing. And the Students' Union is very shortly due to move into the learning and teaching building that we just saw. Okay, so in terms of entry requirements, when it comes to sort of sitting down and making that application to the programme, we do ask that you have a first or an upper second class honours degree, or what sometimes known as a 2-1, or the equivalent level of qualification from an overseas institution. That said, though, and bearing in mind that we are sort of a place of useful learning, we do recognise the value of previous professional experience or other sort of relevant information. So if you are thinking about applying and you don't necessarily tick the boxes for a first or a 2-1 or equivalent, then please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, because it may be the case that you have previous experience as a translator or in an interpreter or in a related industry or sector. And all of that can be incredibly valid and valuable for your application. So it's always just worth getting in touch with us and double checking there as well, because we like to look at the bigger picture, not just sort of simple box ticking exercise. Then you should be able to sort of click a link on the university course webpage that will start up the application process for you. It is sort of pretty much self-explanatory, but again, don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any questions. And please just have a little note of the application deadline there at the bottom of the slide. So this year there is sort of a cutoff point. So we would very much like you to have submitted your application by the 31st of July. During the summer, because that will give us time to sort of process everything and make sure that there's enough time on the other side before teaching begins for you to get sort of funding arrangements in place, or sort of loan arrangements in place, that kind of thing. So yes, 31st of July is your application deadline. Again, if you think you're going to have a problem with that, or you have any other questions, then do just get in touch. And then a little bit more information about the actual programme itself. So as you'll see, we have the taught component is spread over 2 different semesters. And in each of those semesters, you will study 3 different modules. Again, coming back to this idea that Strathclyde is very much a place of useful learning. All these modules have been specifically designed to enhance your translation and interpreting skills, because we always strive to give you opportunities to work on text, whether written or spoken text, that will be similar to those that you'll have to navigate in a real world context. And essentially what these various different modules will do is help you build up what we sort of term as a toolkit. So essentially we'll be giving you the tools, the skills to sort of overcome challenges and to work as effectively and as proficiently as you possibly can when you do move into industry at the end of the programme, if that is indeed the path that you choose. So I'll give you a little bit of information about the various different modules themselves. So translation and interpreting studies. Now, this is actually the only theoretical module that you will undertake. And what this does is sort of charts the evolution of the academic discipline of translation and interpreting studies, just so you have a sense of how thinking about translation as both a product and a process has evolved over the years. And the idea behind this particular class is to sort of expose you to this thinking about translation, because it will help open up your own thinking about translation, well, and interpreting as well. It will give you ideas, it will give you theories, it will give you concepts, it will give you methods that should help to shape and inform your own translation and interpreting practice. So it's a really good foundational module to take. It's really important for the dissertation. It's a crucial element for the dissertation, where you will be expected to engage with theory. And it's also a great platform if you did want to continue further postgraduate research and move on to something like a PhD. Then we have the text typology and translation class, which is pretty much an introduction to specialized translation. And here you get an introduction to the type of specialized domains that translators work in. You might be dealing with sort of technical and scientific texts, tourism and heritage texts, could be fashion, it could be food, it could be journalism. So we do give you sort of a little tasters of various different translation domains. And then you can sort of base your future career choices after having sort of been exposed to those different text types and challenges. Then we have professional interpreting practice that Amy looks after. Amy is the course organizer for the this interpreting class and the one in semester 2 as well. And again, this will help to build up your proficiency as an interpreter. It'll give you really good foundation, a really good basis in the different sort of skill sets that you need. And in semester 1, the focus is predominantly on consecutive interpreting. Then we move to semester 2. Again, the idea is that you're sort of building, you're refining, you're extending your toolkit, the skills that you acquired in semester 1. So with the business translation module, here we focus on sort of more commercially, more economically oriented texts that are sort of shaped by business discourse. So it could be things like annual reports, it could be press releases, it could be advertising, and it's actually this module that we integrate a little bit of subtitling into as well, which is always quite good fun. Then we have the translation and language technology module, which is also sort of a hugely useful one, because we are fortunate enough to be part of the Trados University accreditation program. So I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Trados, but it is a really popular computer-assisted translation tool that has industry-wide recognition. So a lot of job adverts will specify that you have some skills in the use of Trados. And part of this class is sort of taking you through the Trados training program and giving you enough skills to then efficiently sit the certification exams at the end of that. So you can walk away with a nice certificate in SDL Trados as well. But in that class, we also look at post-editing, which is becoming sort of a more and more important skill for translators to have. And that's where you take a machine translation and you edit it, you polish it to various different degrees in order to sort of come up with a passable, a usable translation at the end. And then last but not least, we have the second interpreting module, which again has more of a focus on business and commerce. And here the focus is predominantly on dialogue or liaison interpreting. So we've recreated sort of a huge set of different business scenarios, business settings, where you, it's your role as an interpreter to mediate between two different partners as well. You might have noticed that I have sort of asterisks against quite a few of these modules. The reason being, these are the core modules. These are the modules that you have to take. These are sort of the obligatory ones that you will need to take. The others are actually optional. Now, the way that the School of Humanities is set up is quite innovative. And as a top postgraduate student in the School of Humanities, you actually have the option to go and follow to sort of study a module from elsewhere in the school. So it might be that you have a real keen interest in gender studies. So you decide, okay, I'm not going to do text typology and translation this semester. Instead, I'm going to swap that out and do a module from gender studies. Similarly, in semester 2, you might decide that translation and language technology is not for you. So you could swap that out and go and do a module from health history or creative writing or media and communication, something like that. So there is a little bit of flexibility that's actually built into sort of the schedule there, the curriculum. But as I said, the ones that have asterisks beside them are the core modules. And of course, you're more than welcome to do the text typology and translation and the translation and language technology. And in fact, the vast majority of people do stay with those. But as I say, there is some flexibility and the option is there to go off and do something a little bit more interdisciplinary. And again, this might be useful if you are anticipating doing a PhD. because you can go off and sort of explore other theories, other perspectives that might feed into how you look at and how you practice translation and interpreting. So as you've just seen, each semester has 3 different modules. Each of those modules is worth 20 credits. And once you have completed that taught component, in other words, once you have passed all of those modules, then you proceed onto the dissertation. And I'll sort of say more about the dissertation in a minute. In terms of the delivery, excuse me, in terms of the delivery of teaching next semester, it may well be subject to change. We'll have to see sort of what happens with the current situation, but it's quite likely to adopt a sort of a blended learning approach. So in other words, we have recorded lectures that we would like you to watch in advance of seminars that will take place in person. So in other words, there's a blend, there's different ways of learning here. Well, maybe the student ambassadors will say differently, but I think the recorded lectures have actually worked really well this year, because it gives people a chance to sort of pause them, replay them. They come with closed captions, so if anybody doesn't understand my Northern Irish accent, then they can sort of rewatch it. So that there's definitely added value with those recorded lectures. And then the idea would be, once you have watched those, once you've done the reading for that week, then we would come together and meet in an in-person seminar to talk through ideas and explore things and so on and so forth. And then when we're working with the software, ideally all of that will take place in the lab itself. It's also, I think, important to point out that during the Masters, you will be expected to do a significant amount of independent learning. So as I mentioned, you will have reading to complete for each week. So it really is important to kind of go away, do that reading and engage with it critically. So think about sort of the arguments that are being made, how they hold up, how it might apply to your own practice. And then alongside that as well, you do have the opportunity to practice your translation and interpreting skills. So there will be sort of various opportunities across both semesters to do translations and to do interpretations that are non-assessed. But your language tutors will look at that practice and they'll send it back to you with feedback that you can then again take on board and build on moving forward. We also sort of employ quite a different range of assessment methods. One of again, another kind of key ethos of the programme is to allow students to choose what type of texts that they work on as far as is possible. Because the idea behind this is that if you decide, for example, that you have a specific interest in developing a career in heritage translation, for example, then for each assessment, you can tailor make the text that you work on. So you could go off and choose, for example, to translate a tour guide for Balmoral Castle. And then you would submit your translation, you would get feedback on it. You could then use that feedback to sort of polish it, to make it as good as possible. And you can then compile what we call sort of a portfolio of your translation and even recordings of your interpreting work that then you can show, you can take to prospective employers and use as a way of demonstrating what it is that you are capable of doing. So as I mentioned, yeah, quite often, obviously, you'll be doing translations, you'll be doing interpretations. Sometimes what we will do is ask you to write a commentary on your translation practice. So the commentary is where you sort of write, it's almost like a little mini essay where you describe the translation decisions that you have taken, and you justify them and you evaluate them. So it's just a way of demonstrating that you've been sort of thinking through your decision-making process very, very carefully and very critically. For the theory class, you do what's known as a comparative analysis. So you find a source text, an original that you're interested in, and then you find an existing translation, so a translation that has already been published, and you compare the two to try to sort of pull out, identify the particular translation strategies that the translator has used, how they've resolved any particular challenges, and then you can sort of evaluate what the implications of those choices might be in terms of how a reader understands or responds to the translation and so on. But again, sort of an underpinning concept through all of this is that as students, as independent thinkers, it's really important to reflect on all of your activity. So quite often, a lot of these essays, these assignments will have reflective components built into them, where you reflect on sort of perhaps what you've gained from doing this particular assessment, what you felt was lacking, whether or not you think this is something that you are going to employ in the future, and so on and so forth. Then comes the dissertation and or the research project. So our students are currently right at the start of this particular journey. But again, as I've stressed to them before, it's absolutely nothing to worry about. So the fact that it is a 15,000 word long project shouldn't put you off, because once you get into it, more often than not, students find that they have too much to say. They have sort of the opposite problem than they anticipate. But there's two particular types of dissertation that you can do for the MSc in Business Translation and Interpreting. So most students, because they tend to want to have a career, an applied career as translators or interpreters, they will opt to do the translation or interpretation and commentary, where, for example, you do a 9,000 word translation and the remaining 6,000 words is dedicated to a commentary that, as I mentioned, introduces the challenges, how you've overcome those challenges, why you think that's the best way to have approached that particular problem. Or the other option is to do a more traditional research dissertation, where you will set yourself a research question that you will explore in depth. And this is probably the one I would sort of nudge you towards if you were thinking about going on to do PhD research afterwards, because that will help you kind of build up your research skills more specifically. But you don't have to do the dissertation sort of solo. You're not flying solo. You do have regular supervision. So yeah, both Amy and I supervise students over the summer. We help you get started by choosing the texts that you want to work with. We help you think through which sort of theoretical frameworks are best suited to the project that you want to accomplish. We meet with you sort of three-four times over the course of the summer to talk through sort of feedback that we've given to you on drafts, to sort of help you through any problems that you're having, and so on and so forth. So we're there to sort of help you through the process, even though sort of the bulk of the work is up to you. So as I said, we start sort of mid-May normally, and then you've got a couple of months to sort of accomplish everything before a mid-August submission. So that sort of in a nutshell is the approach that we take to the dissertation. I'm going to pass over to Amy in a little minute, but here's a couple of examples of French Spanish and Italian translation and commentaries that we've had. So we've had, as I mentioned, we've had people people choose to work on heritage texts. So we had, so that's the first two are the research dissertations here, sorry, I should say. So yeah, we had someone looking at the Visit Scotland's French website translation, looking at issues like sort of the quality control. Was it done by a human? Was it done by a machine? Another really interesting research dissertation, and I think this is an excellent title, was Tongue Twister Tackling Tactics in Translation, Strategies in the French Subtitles of BoJack Horseman. So we had a student look at how tongue twisters had been translated into French. Then we had, for example, a translation and commentary related to the domain of sports translation. So we had a student translate a section of a Spanish football club's website, and we had another student who worked in audiovisual translation and subtitled a Netflix program. So you don't necessarily have to work on sort of written text. You can work across various different media if you want. And then Amy, I'm going to hand over to you to give some examples of what Chinese students have worked on.
Yep. So here I have two specific examples of what our Chinese students have done in the previous years. And the two examples I gave you here, they are from examples of our two students graduated in 2020, last year. One student, the first one is Toki project. She was looking at political translation, which she finds very intriguing area for her to research. And she made an inquiry of ideological shifts in the political texts, and she wants to find out what kind of solutions are there in the translation of political texts, and what kind of ideological shifts are made by the translators. And she found out really in her translation, unconsciously or subconsciously, a wide range of translation strategies are used, and she drew on past literature to examine, how well the translation strategies are used in her own translation practices. And another example I got here is from Kevin. He was a very good, game player, and he looks at a game localization, and we know that game localization becomes a booming area of translation for Chinese translators since 2014, I think, and it is a very popular career choice for some of our graduates. And I think it's the second one for our students to choose to look at game localization. And for Kevin, he didn't look at the linguistic aspects of the game localization, rather he looks at the cultural issues of game localization. For example, the translations of proper nouns, the names of the places, the name of the people, or different sections. And also he looks at the technical restrictions of game localization in the context of AVT, because for audiovisual translation, there are different kind of space restrictions, time restrictions, and for game translations, the technical restrictions may be slightly different, and he explored into these issues. And then later I'm going to talk about career prospects. So maybe one question, Sharon, the next, maybe one question you may also ask is like, I'm going to do this master in translation and interpreting, and upon graduation, what kind of job, what I can do? So as Sharon introduced just now, we have a module specialized in translation and interpreting theory, which will provide a very good foundation for you to move on to do research in the field of translation and interpreting That means you can study a PhD either here. You can, if you like here, you can stay here with Sharon and me. We are both PhD supervisors, so you can study PhD here. And the next popular career choice among our students is like to become translators and interpreters. To my knowledge, our students have, our course has a very good, or we can say excellent employment record. And then our students have found different kinds of freelance jobs or in-house translator jobs. Most of the students, to my knowledge, have found in-house translation jobs there, to be in-house translators for different international organizations or corporate companies. And here, for example, I give you some example. We have a student, for example, a past student graduated from our course and now is doing PhD in heritage translation under Sharon's supervision. And also we have a student who found a job in the company of Mantu and work as senior translator. And recently I heard, just now I heard a student got Sabrina, who is doing translation between English and Italian language combination. Recently, she got a very good job working as a translator and a copywriter in the field of beauty and fashion products translation. And really, as Sharon mentioned just now, fashion translation is one component of our specialized translation class. And I think which, because we cover quite a wide range of topics in our translation classes, so there are kind of numerous opportunities open up for you upon graduation. And now I'm going to give you some examples of what our Chinese students jobs after graduation. The first one, the first picture on top, the smaller one, that Chinese girl you can see there doing the interpretation, that's Luna. That picture was taken when she was still studying with us in Strathclyde during the summer vacation, when she was working on her dissertation. And then we provide this kind of opportunity to work as interpreter for the conferences that was held in the University of Strathclyde. And she worked for a month here. And that picture was taken while she was doing consecutive interpreting, and she has done such a fantastic job. And all the feedback was very positive, but which also boosted her confidence as a translator and a professional interpreter. Just after the graduation, she found a job in Shanghai working for Boston International. Now she is the senior translator in the company now. And also last year, I think she won a prize in the national contest for machine translation in China, national contest, because she learned travel software here in Strathclyde, which skills, the skill set she got from us helped her, to move on, to explore further how machine translation or CAT tools can help professional translators to complete daily tasks. And the next picture is, that was from the picture below. That was a picture our graduate Jessica is in the middle, in the front row, I think the one, because that picture was taken recently. So you can see everybody was is wearing a face mask in the picture. Jessica graduated in 2019, and just as soon as she graduated, she's very, very lucky, to be honest. And she got a job in working for the Zhejiang government in China, because in China, we know there is a Belt and Road Initiative. So she was sent to Dubai to work as a translator and interpreter. And she really enjoys that job. And just now, I talk about Toki, our graduate in 2020. She got a job, first she landed a job in Beijing working for an exhibition company. And then later on she find, she does like this kind of in-house translator job. She wants more freedom. And recently she has moved to another company specializing in audio-visual translation. And in that company, she works as a manager in a managerial role there in the company, recruiting translators and also doing translation work and translation management work. And then all their videos, or we can say translations done, are uploaded to YouTube to be shared internationally. Okay, so that's my brief introduction. So now I'm going to pass it to Sharon. Sharon is going to introduce more about the funding opportunities.
Thank you, Amy. And I think, yeah, I think we can safely say that both of us are very proud of our former students, aren't we? They've all done sort of exceptionally well, despite kind of difficult economic and sort of public health context that we're living through. But so it's really encouraging. We have a lot of students, plus students who are positively thriving in their career choices. Yeah, I'm quite conscious of the time, so I'm just going to rattle through the information about fees and funding. A lot of this will already sort of be up on our website, so feel free to double check it there. But just to say that if you are a Scottish student, make sure that you know that you could be eligible for a tuition fee loan, as well as a living cost loan. So please do have a look at the eligibility criteria on the SAS website if that actually applies to you, because you can get sort of a loan contribution towards the tuition fee, as well as a loan contribution towards everyday living costs as well. If you are an existing Strathclyder, so if you did your undergraduate degree with us and you move on to a full-time taught postgraduate programme, then you will have, for our particular programme, you will be eligible to have a 15% reduction in fees. So again, information is on our website, so have a look at that. And then also, if you are an international student, this year we have the Dean's International Excellence Award, and this award is a contribution of £4,000 that you can put towards your tuition fees for the master's programme. In order to qualify for this, you need to make sure that your tuition fee deposit has been paid by the 31st of July as well. So again, just bear that in mind, and do feel free to go and have a look at the website for some further information on that as well. And then for any EU applicants out there, things have obviously now changed since Brexit has come into play, whereas previously you could have applied for home fee status. Now in this post-Brexit world, it's the international fee that you will be looking at. We do have what's called an EU Transition Scholarship that you would be eligible for. So again, if you want to apply for that, there is a potential to get a £5,000 to £7,000 contribution towards the programme there. But again, the more information is available on the website for you to have a look at. And oh, good. Helpfully, so the last slide here is the faculty postgrad recruitment and admissions email address. So absolutely do make a note of that, because they're fantastic. They're so knowledgeable. They're so helpful. And if you need any further information about things to do with scholarships and funding or the application process in general, then please do get in touch with them. Okay, so it's at this point that I have the happy task of handing over to Kasia and Helen, our student ambassadors, who are going to give you sort of an insider's point of view on the programme itself. So over to you, ladies.
Helen, do you want to start, or do you want me to go first?
Okay, I can start first.
Okay.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Helen, and I would like to share some experience of interpreting class. During the semester one, we have warm-up activities before starting each lesson. For example, the teacher will play the short videos which are about 3 to 4 minutes, so that we can do the shadowing at the same time. Like since like in our case, we are at the COVID-19 time, so all of our class are delivered through the Zoom. So therefore, we can doing the shadowing and by muting our mic and practice out loud in our own room. And we focus on consecutive interpreting in semester 1. We upload the video to Threads, which teacher and classmates can see our performance. And the teacher will give you the feedback for the performance, which is really helpful. And you can adjust your strategy while doing the interpreting next time. And as for the semester 2, we will focus on the dialogue interpreting. Like every week, we will have different topics. So we need to write the dialogue, and we can practice in class. And during my year of study and practice in interpreting, I do enhance a lot with my skill, and it makes me become more familiar with the business conversation and get more terminology in the business domain. And another experience I would like to share is about the tradles. Like after the semester, if we pass the certification, you may add the ability into LinkedIn, which is an advantage while you're finding a relating job. And also, since Tradle is a software like could only install in Microsoft PC. However, like the Mac users do not need to feel panic because the school will provide a remote control access to the lab computer. So it will be the same like other classmates. We have the same access to the software, and we like during the study we will gain more knowledge about using the software. And at first it might be hard to imagine the way to deliver the class, deliver like this technical class, but it is much more clear while seeing the steps through the share screen. So you can follow it by step as well as the teacher do at the same time. And from my experience, I can tell that all the feedback from teachers are really helpful, and you may have a lot of chance to practice and discuss with classmates through the breakout room. And that's it. And that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, my name is Kasia. Hi guys, I'm Polish and I was working with the French and English language combination during this past year. Helen already talked about interpreting, but I just wanted to mention because that was something new to me. So I was a little bit anxious at the very beginning, but I just wanted to reassure you that there's nothing to be scared of because you really ease into this process. The course is well organized and you start off with practicing your public speaking skills. You get the right speeches and perform them in class. So, you gain confidence first and then you start interpreting, which I thought was really helpful and really rewarding when you get to look over at the progress that you've made throughout the entire year. So that was really enjoyable for me. I would also like to mention that you get to work with a variety of domains and text types, which I suppose Sharon already mentioned before as well. But I thought it was really nice that you get to explore different texts. We worked with legal translation, medical translation, advertising, finance. There's a lot to unpack there, and you really get to have a feel of what feels good to you and what you might see yourself doing in the future. So I personally did few assessments on fashion translation because that's something I'm interested in, and it was good to look into it in more depth. I also thought it was nice that we as a class got to decide on one topic for 1 week in the second semester. So it was a student-led class, because obviously, you know, you won't get to explore everything in class due to time constraints. And we chose to do game localization. As Amy mentioned before, you know, this is such a booming domain right now that it was great to get to research it on our own and practice our researching skills and work as a team, which I thought was a nice addition to it as well. You get so much feedback on these things as well. And, you know, these are often non-assessed pieces of work. So, you know, you don't have to feel the pressure. You can just see what's working and yeah, see how it goes for you. Another thing that I really enjoyed was doing subtitling. I wasn't expecting that to be part of it, but working with the free software is really good, because, you know, you get to practice as much as you want to. And subtitling is also a domain that I guess, you know, is present in many different sectors. So you can see how those general guidelines for subtitling work. They might differ from organization to organization, but, you know, it's good to see the basics of it and to really get to practice that. And the last little thing that I wanted to talk about is the commentary, which is one of the last assignments that we got to do in second semester. But the reason why I want to mention it is because it's such a good warm-up for the dissertation. Well, if you choose to do the translation project anyway, because the structure is the same. It's just that dissertation is obviously a much bigger work when it comes to the word count, but you know, you can see maybe what domain you want to do it on, and then analyze the feedback to see, oh, okay, maybe I should work more on the theoretical framework for the, you know, the actual dissertation. So I thought that was really useful, and, you know, I'm definitely looking back on that feedback now that I'm writing the dissertation. So yeah, I think that's it from me. Thank you.